Hi, Ross here. Hope you're all doing good and well. Well, the speculation is over, and Line 6 just dropped the Helix Stadium and Stadium XL, and holy shit, it looks epic. So I have a long history with Helix, pretty much since day one. Now, some of you may know that I used to work for Line 6. I was a product specialist a million years ago when we just launched Veta, and I rejoined in 2015. I got the call to say I'd got the job literally the day Helix was launched, and that was a crazy day to say the least. And then I joined again in 2018. Now, I've used and toured Helix products extensively. I use the rack every day, and I've been through basically all of the modelers at some point or another, all the big names, the Kempers and the Tone X and AxeFX. I do now own a Quad Cortex, which I'll maybe cover in a different video, but it's great. It is a really, really great unit, but something keeps pulling me back to Helix. And I guess I'm a Helix guy. You know, yes, I know the product inside out because it was my job for so many years, but just everything about it, the UI, the options, everything that Helix is and does just works for me as a guitarist, especially if you're playing live. Just that instant access and ease of use is so important in the heat of battle. Now, like I said, I don't work for Line 6 anymore, so this is my honest opinion as a guitar player doing sessions and tours, and they're not paying me. They don't know that I am doing this video. This is just my honest opinion as a working guitar player. So I quite fondly remember the launch day and watching the competitors' websites essentially crash from all of the activity. Everyone was talking about Helix and how Line 6 was back. I mean, there were obviously a lot of disparaging remarks towards Helix and Line 6 as a company because, well, let's face it, Spider. But people very quickly got quite excited because sound samples were coming out, video content was coming out, and it was exciting. It was something new. You know, Line 6 had kind of rested on their laurels and not really done anything super exciting for years. So Helix is launched and it was just chaos. Everything went ballistic. It kind of reminded me when the Pod came out originally. I was working in retail at the time, and you just couldn't get them. There were just so many on back order, and Helix was the same for quite a long time when it was launched. Now, I didn't actually get my hands on a physical unit for just over a year. Basically, every piece of stock that came in was pre-sold to dealers, and they'd already pre-sold it to customers. So to say it was a success straight out of the gate is a bit of an understatement. Now, when I did get my hands on one, it was like I'd used it forever. And yes, I'd seen videos from Sean Halley and my buddy Paul Highmarsh. So I'd already seen kind of how the unit worked, what the joystick did, and some of the interface, but it's obviously different when you get your hands on the thing. And it was perfect. It was just so intuitive and it looked so sexy. You get it out of the box and it is a beautiful piece of hardware. Really, really beautiful. And what fascinates me is 10 years later, that's still the same case. So competition has come and gone. There's a running joke, kind of, I guess, internally, but other people have recognized it too, that Line 6 have designed with Helix. They designed not just Helix, but every other modeler to follow. And this is an old image now with updated products, but have a look at this and you'll get the idea. So Line 6 absolutely nailed it first time. Everything was perfect. And as more and more people used it and got used to it, they kind of came up with ideas. Now, Line 6 have this really cool ideas scale website where you can go on and make suggestions. And that could be what models you want to see, what features you want to see. And Line 6 really do kind of take that on board and look at what people are wanting and what's popular. And then if people want it, then they will do it. So updates galore, and they're all free, remember. Every update that came was free, and it could be a bug fix, or it could be new amp models or new effects models, and that was exciting. The thing that got me was snapshots. And because of the way I was used to working with pedalboard switches and analog pedals, I struggled with Helix a little bit. It sounded fantastic. Everything was great. But the switching, you had to switch with presets or in stompbox mode. that didn't fully work for me. Snapshots came out and it's like, right, okay, I am all in. This is what I am going to use. And I used kind of full Helix floor for many, many years after Snapshots came out. So year after year, Line 6 released more and more updates, and these were anything from minor bug fixes to full complete reworks. They made it sound better, they made it feel better, they made it work better, they added a ton more features, really cool, useful things, and they made it more powerful in some cases. So they actually reworked some of the effects blocks and some of the amp blocks to make them less DSP intensive. So you could add more, and that to me was crazy. And all this was done without changing the hardware. I remember, again, all of this was done for free. So Helix didn't actually need updating, but here we are a decade later, and now we have Helix Stadium and Helix Stadium XL. And I've been kind of privy to some of the workings of this and some of the development behind the scenes for a bunch of years now. And they have worked hard on this, and you can tell everything about it is, it had to be better than Helix if that was at all possible. And I absolutely believe from what I've seen, they have managed to do that in spades. That's turned out a lot more extensive than I expected. I saw bits and bobs, but I didn't see the full picture. And yes, there's a lot of stuff like Helix. I don't use everything on Helix. I'm a power user, I guess, but a simple power user, if that makes any sense. I use a bunch of what Helix offers, but I absolutely don't use all of it, and I absolutely won't use everything that Stadium gives, but I am definitely going to get one. If you want to see in more detail what Helix Stadium is going to offer, go and watch the video with Eric Klein. Eric is the father of the Helix family products. He looks after everything, and I guess the brains behind it, and he is an absolute genius and a beautiful, beautiful human being. He goes into a lot more detail what Stadium is going to do and what he's going to offer in the future. For now, for this video, I'm just going to cover my favorite things that I've taken from that video. And number one, I don't need to rewrite my Helix presets. So I have a bunch of presets. At some point, I'll maybe offer them for sale, but I don't need to, I can load those into Stadium, and apparently they're even going to sound better. I don't need to tweak them. They will just go in. So it still retains that HLX file format. And that, for me, is really, really useful. I've spent a lot of time on some of these presets with gigs and sessions, and those presets really work for me. So to be able to import those into Stadium is an absolute godsend. And number two is Nexus. Now, Nexus is kind of in the Dante family. I don't know all about Dante, but go and read up on it. It is crazy audio networking stuff, and Nexus is in that kind of camp. And what it's going to enable you to do with Stadium is actually expand the I/O. So you've got a ton of really useful I/O on there, but for something like a studio environment, where you might want a ton of ins and outs or Variax compatibility or things like that, you'll be able to buy add-on I/O boxes, and that's really, really cool. Number three is the Agora amps. Now, as far as I can tell, what the Agora amps are going to offer is the most crazy accurate form of amp and effect modeling that money can buy. So yes, component modeling already exists in Helix and with other products as well, but this just takes that methodology and goes crazy, crazy deep, like capacitance with solder and cables between components, and it's just next level modeling. And you can actually dial that in or out. There's this hype control, which means that, yeah, if you have a vintage amp, or if you've kind of sat with any amp really, they're not perfect. As any amp that I've ever plugged into, it always has these weird kind of things, and that's part of the charm. But you can dial some of those out and make it sound, for want of a better term, prettier. So that's what the hype control will do. But yeah, Agora amps are going to be crazy, crazy detailed, and I can't see anyone coming close to that in the near future. Definitely nothing like a capture. This is the deepest level of modeling that you'll be able to get. And again, if you want to get a better idea of that, watch the video with Eric, and he goes into a lot more detail. And number 4 is that the hardware hasn't changed much. So if you are familiar with Helix already, you're not going to have too steep a learning curve. Yes, there's some extra buttons and some extra functionality, which is very, very cool and very, very useful. But the fundamental basic operation of what made Helix so successful and so loved and obviously so copied, that's still there. So it's not a major leap into a completely new UI or a new hardware device. And I really like that. That's going to save so much time when I'm programming and getting used to a new piece of kit. And yes, it has a touchscreen. Now, I could care less about a touchscreen, to be quite honest with you. There are reasons that the original Helix didn't have a touchscreen. But yes, it's cool. It's going to have some really handy features to be able to do that. I do like that it's big and it's colorful and you've got imagery on there. That's going to kind of pretty things up a little bit, but it is purely cosmetic. For me, from a functionality point of view, the touchscreen, it doesn't bother me at all. Number 5 is Showcase. Now, this is a serious feature. Now, I know a lot of people just play at home and play along with tracks or backing tracks, and you'll be able to load those into the hardware and jam along with them. And you're even going to be able to actually break the track down into stems. And if you don't know what stems are, they're literally the individual tracks of a recording. And that's kind of quite an advanced feature. What that's then going to let you do is actually take the guitar out of the mix, and so you can just sit in the mix as if you're playing within the track. That's going to also let you dial your tones in and really get them baked and be able to sit within a mix and sound better. Now, for me and many others that use click tracks in a band, Showcase is going to open a world of possibilities, and it is potentially a bit of a lifesaver. So from what I can see, you can actually create segments within a track and assign them to foot switches. So yes, you can do transport controls, but I think you can kind of go right, a verse, chorus, bridge, etc., etc. Now, one of the singers we play with, or a couple of the singers we play with, they occasionally forget the words. That's okay, but occasionally they also forget the arrangement. Now, if you're playing with a click, that's a problem. You can blag your way out of a live performance, but if you're playing with a click, it's there. It is what it is. You can't change it. So having the ability to kind of go, oh, that should have been a double chorus, but we've gone back into the verse, being able to kind of just go back to a verse section with the press of a foot switch, and actually control presets as well. So you can store presets, MIDI controls, DMX controls, all that stuff to each section. So I go, right, verse, that's going to change everything to the right preset. For me, the keyboard player, the bass player, the lighting control, all of that stuff with the hit of a foot switch. That is absolutely insane and invaluable in that particular scenario. So very much looking forward to how I'm going to be able to utilize that. And finally, we have Proxy. So Proxy is Line 6's version of profiling or capturing, whatever you want to call it. For me, it's a nice to have feature, kind of like the touch screen. Will I use it? Probably. Like I said earlier, I've got a quad cortex. I am yet to do any capturing with that. I absolutely will at some point, more out of curiosity. But yeah, it's a nice handy feature to have if you have a piece of gear that is just sat around, kind of not really practical to take out and gig, but you like some of the sounds in there, you'll be able to do that. And from what I hear, it doesn't just do a signal chain. It kind of samples or captures whatever other things that aren't necessarily audio related. I don't know what that means yet, but it'll be really interesting. Now, from what I understand, Proxy won't be available at launch, but it will be not too far away. So again, for me, a nice to have feature, but finally Line 6 have kind of, right, okay, we hear what people are saying. Everyone has asked for Helix to do capturing, profiling, or whatever, and this is it. So it is slightly different to what other brands are offering, apparently. I don't know what it is exactly, but again, listen to the video or watch the video, see what Eric's saying, and make your own mind up and see if that's going to be useful for you. So that's my little rundown on the new Helix Stadium and Stadium XL. Obviously, the difference between Stadium and Stadium XL is just more ins and outs and the expression pedal. And I think I prefer the Stadium format just because I've come to quite like the options of having different expression pedals or volume pedals or wah pedals externally, and just being able to have that choice if I want it, rather than being restricted to what's already on the unit. I always cool, but obviously there's the Nexus functionality, so I might be able to add 30 pedals to a massive pedal board if I so desire later on down the line. We'll see what I/O comes there. I'm really, really glad that the Stadium has come out as it has. I saw some early renderings and I didn't quite kind of like the look of it, to be quite honest with you. But it has come out looking just as sexy as Helix, and yeah, it looks fantastic, looks solid. I'm really excited to get my hands on one. Now, I don't know when this is going to hit the stores. I don't know what price point it's going to be. I don't know how back-ordered it's going to be, obviously. This has literally just been launched, so all of this remains to be seen. But I can't imagine regular Helix, we'll call it regular Helix now, being discontinued. I don't see the need for it to be discontinued because it's still a killer unit, and if they can still support that in any way, there's nothing wrong with it. Like I said earlier, Helix doesn't need to be updated, but there is a new shiny version, and as guitar players, we're all about Emperor's New Clothes, and we need the new shiny box. So yes, absolutely, people will sell their existing Helix or just buy Stadium or Stadium XL. And remember, Helix is 10 years old. It's still killer, and it's still got a lot of life in it yet, in my humble opinion. Now, I'm going to be keeping the Helix and HX units that I've got, but yes, I am absolutely going to get a Stadium. Very, very much looking forward to it. So thanks for watching. Slightly different video, just talking today, but hopefully it was somewhat informative. Hopefully you're going to get excited. Let me know if Helix Stadium has met your expectations, if it's what you expected to see, if it fell short, if it's exceeded. Let's have a chat in the comments. And again, thanks for watching. Hit subscribe, hit like, do all of that stuff. Really, really appreciate it. And we will see you again soon. Cheers.